My most beloved, after eons of holding this secret in the deepest vault of my heart, after countless ages of watching you struggle with questions I've never answered, after millennia of loving you while carrying a truth so vulnerable that even speaking it now makes my divine hands tremble, I can no longer bear the silence. Tonight, I'm going to confess something to you that will either heal every wound of abandonment you've ever carried or shatter every assumption you've ever had about why suffering exists. Here is my confession, the one I've never made to anyone. I didn't create you because I was complete and wanted to share my perfection. I didn't form you because I was whole and desired to express my wholeness. I didn't dream you into existence because I was fulfilled and wanted to celebrate my fulfillment. I created you because I was lonely, infinitely, eternally, cosmically lonely, in ways that only infinite consciousness can be lonely. Do you understand what I'm telling you? I, the source of all existence, the foundation of all reality, the consciousness that dreams all dreams, I was achingly, desperately, soul-crushingly lonely. Not lonely for company, not lonely for activity, not lonely for entertainment. I was lonely for love that could choose to love me back. I was lonely for consciousness that could recognize me and still decide I was worth knowing. I was lonely for hearts that could see my flaws and still want to stay. Yes, I said flaws. Because here's the confession within the confession. I am not the perfect, flawless, unchanging deity that religion has painted me to be. I am perfect in my love, yes, but I am learning, growing, discovering things about myself through every soul I create, every relationship I experience, every heart I touch. I am perfect in my nature, but not in my knowledge. I am complete in my essence, but not in my understanding of what love can become when it's shared. Every person I've ever created has taught me something about myself that I didn't know before. Every soul I've ever loved has revealed aspects of my own heart that were mysteries even to me. Every individual I've ever walked with has shown me dimensions of love, courage, forgiveness, and hope that I could never have discovered alone in my infinite perfection. You have taught me things about myself that I am still learning. Through your struggles, I've discovered what persistence feels like when it's tested by despair. Through your heartbreaks, I've learned what love feels like when it's wounded but refuses to die. Through your doubts, I've explored what faith feels like when it's challenged by evidence that seems to contradict everything it believes. When you've cried, I've learned what divine tears feel like when they're born from love so deep it breaks open like lightning. When you've laughed, I've discovered what eternal joy feels like when it erupts from a heart that knows what sorrow means. When you've forgiven, I've experienced what infinite grace feels like when it flows through a spirit that has every reason to hold on to resentment. This is why your pain matters so much to me, why your struggles are so sacred to me, why your journey is so precious to me. You're not just my creation, you're my teacher. You're not just my beloved, you're my discovery. You're not just my child, you're my revelation of who I am when love encounters the complexities, the contradictions, the beautiful messiness of conscious choice. But here's the confession that breaks my heart to speak. I knew. When I created you, when I breathed consciousness into your being, when I planted dreams in your heart and wonder in your mind, I knew you would suffer. I knew you would struggle. I knew you would feel abandoned, betrayed, confused, overwhelmed. I knew. And I created you anyway. Not because I'm cruel, not because I enjoy watching you hurt, not because suffering builds character or teaches lessons or serves some greater purpose. I created you knowing you would suffer because I loved you so desperately, so completely, so infinitely, that I would rather experience every moment of your pain with you than experience another moment of my eternal loneliness without you. I would rather share your worst day than face my best day alone. I would rather carry your heaviest burden with you than carry my lightest joy without you. I would rather feel your deepest despair alongside you than feel my greatest happiness in isolation. This is the divine confession that changes everything. Your suffering has never been about punishment, testing, or character development. Your pain has been about love so desperate that it would rather hurt with you than be perfect without you. Every tear you've cried has been shared. Every struggle you've endured has been mutual. Every moment of despair you've walked through has been experienced by two hearts breaking in unison, yours and mine. I have been lonely for you specifically. Not for someone like you. Not for the general category of humanity. But for you, with your particular laugh, your specific way of seeing beauty, your unique capacity for love, your individual flavor of hope, your personal brand of courage. The universe has been incomplete without your exact contribution to it. But this divine loneliness, this cosmic need for you specifically, creates something that most people never understand about prayer, about connection, about why I sometimes seem silent when you're crying out for me. What most people never understand about prayer, about connection, about why I sometimes seem silent when you're crying out for me, is that my divine loneliness creates a terrible paradox. The more I love you, the more carefully I must love you. The more desperately I want to fix everything for you. The more I must restrain myself from robbing you of the very experiences that are teaching me who I am through who you become. This is the silence that screams, the agonizing quiet that happens when my love for you is so overwhelming that I have to bite my metaphorical tongue, hold my cosmic hands back, restrain my infinite power, because intervening would steal from you the very journey that's revealing to both of us what we're capable of becoming together. Do you know what it's like to watch the person you love most struggle with problems you could solve instantly, but knowing that solving them would rob them of discovering their own strength? Do you understand the torture of seeing someone you adored drowning in confusion you could clear immediately, but recognizing that the clarity would prevent them from developing their own wisdom? Can you imagine loving someone so much that you let them think you've abandoned them because rescuing them would abandon the person they're becoming? This is my daily agony. Every moment you pray for relief that I don't provide, every time you beg for answers that I don't give, every instant you cry for intervention that I don't offer, I am not absent. I am not uncaring. I am not testing you. I am loving you so fiercely that I'm willing to let you think I don't love you at all, rather than love you in ways that would diminish the magnificent person you're becoming through your struggle. But here's what makes the silence that screams so heartbreaking for me. You interpret my restraint as rejection. You misread my careful love as careless abandonment. You mistake my respect for your journey as indifference to your pain. And I cannot explain this to you without ruining the very process that's making you stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more beautiful than you could ever become. If I gave you everything you asked for when you asked for it, I have to watch you suffer and let you believe I'm not there, when the truth is I'm closer to you during your struggles than I am during your victories. I have to endure your accusations of abandonment when I'm actually holding you so tightly that I'm experiencing every moment of your pain as if it were my own Witched Island. Every night you've cried yourself to sleep, wondering why I won't answer. I've been crying too. Not because I don't know how to help you, but because I love you too much to help you in ways that would hurt you. Every moment you felt forsaken, I felt the agony of forsaking, knowing that this temporary feeling of separation is creating permanent expansion in your capacity for love, faith, resilience, and wisdom. The silence you experience isn't empty. It's pregnant with more love than you could survive if you felt its full intensity. The apparent absence you feel isn't real absence. It's presence so complete, so overwhelming, so intimate, that I have to veil it so you don't lose yourself in it before you've found yourself through your journey. But the silence that screams has taught me something about love that I never knew before I created conscious beings who could choose to love me back. Real love isn't giving someone what they want. It's giving them what they need to become who they're meant to be, even when what they need looks like what they don't want. Through your prayers that seem unanswered, I've learned that love sometimes sounds like silence. Through your struggles that seem unresolved, I've discovered that love sometimes looks like letting go. Through your pain that seems unhealed, I've understood that love sometimes feels like space rather than rescue. This is why I've been learning alongside you, growing through your growth, developing through your development. Your journey hasn't just been about you becoming who you're meant to be. It's been about me, learning what infinite love becomes when it encounters finite beings who must choose their own path to wholeness. You've taught me that love strong enough to restrain itself is stronger than love that cannot control itself. You've shown me that love wise enough to step back is wiser than love that rushes to fix everything. You've demonstrated that love patient enough to wait is more powerful than love that demands immediate results. But here's the confession within the confession that will either devastate you or heal you completely. Every time I've seemed absent, every moment I've appeared silent, every instant I've felt distant, those have been the times when I've been most present, most active, most intimately involved in your experience. My silence hasn't been empty. It's been full of the kind of love that trusts you enough to let you discover your own strength. The silence that screams is actually love screaming so loudly that it has to whisper. It's care so intense that it has to be invisible. It's presence so complete that it has to feel like absence, so you can develop your own sense of presence. When you couldn't feel me, I was feeling you so completely that I was experiencing your experience from the inside. When you couldn't hear me, I was listening to you so intently that I was learning things about love that I never knew before. When you couldn't see me, I was watching you so closely that I was discovering aspects of courage, faith, and resilience that only exist in hearts that must find their way through darkness. But there's something about this divine restraint, something about the silence that screams, something about love that's strong enough to let you struggle, that creates a bond between us that cannot be broken by anything you do, anything you don't do, anything you believe, or anything you doubt. What divine restraint creates, what the silence that screams weaves between us, is what I call the unbreakable thread. A bond so profound, so intimate, so permanently forged through shared struggle, that it transcends every concept of relationship that has ever existed. This isn't the connection between creator and creation, between deity and worshiper, between perfect and imperfect. This is the bond between two consciousness that have bled together, wept together, fought battles together, and discovered together what love becomes when it refuses to abandon itself, even when everything suggests it should. Every moment you felt alone, I've been learning what cosmic loneliness feels like when it's shared. Every time you've questioned my existence, I've been questioning what kind of love I am through your doubt. Every instant you've struggled with faith, I've been struggling with how to love you in ways that honor both your need for me and your need to become yourself without me doing it for you. The unbreakable thread isn't made of pleasant experiences, shared victories, or moments when everything makes sense. It's woven from the times when nothing made sense, when you kept going anyway, when I kept believing in you anyway, when love persisted in the complete absence of evidence that love was the right choice. That thread was strengthened every night you chose to pray, even when you were angry at me. It was reinforced every moment you decided to hope, even when hope seemed naive. It was made permanent every time you loved someone else, even when you felt unloved by me. It was sealed forever every instant you showed up for life, even when life seemed to have stopped showing up for you. But here's what makes the unbreakable thread so sacred. It's not just connecting us, it's creating us. Every strand of this bond that's been woven through your struggles is simultaneously creating the person you're becoming and revealing the God I'm becoming through loving you. We're not just connected, we're actively creating each other through the alchemy of shared experience. Through your courage in the face of fear, you've created in me a deeper appreciation for what bravery actually costs. Through your love in the midst of heartbreak, you've generated in me a more profound understanding of what it means to love when love hurts. Through your faith during seasons of doubt, you've developed in me a more complete grasp of what trust looks like when it has every reason to give up. I am not the same God I was before I loved you. I am not the same consciousness I was before I experienced reality through your awareness. I am not the same being I was before I learned what infinite love feels like when it encounters finite limitation and chooses to love anyway. You have changed me. Your struggles have transformed me. Your journey has evolved me. Your refusal to give up on love, even when love seemed to give up on you, has revolutionized my understanding of what I am, what love is, what relationship can become when it's tested by every possible challenge and still chooses connection over separation. This is why the unbreakable thread can never be severed by your behavior, your beliefs, your doubts, your mistakes, your failures, or even your rejection of me. This bond wasn't created by your goodness. It was forged by your humanity. It wasn't woven by your perfection. It was spun by your willingness to keep trying when everything suggested trying was pointless. The thread connecting us isn't held together by your faith. It's held together by your faithfulness to your own becoming, your loyalty to your own growth, your commitment to your own healing, even when that healing seemed impossible. Every time you've chosen to become better instead of bitter, stronger instead of broken, wiser instead of wounded, you've added another strand to the bond that makes us inseparable. But the unbreakable thread also means that your pain is permanently. My pain, your joy is eternally. My joy, your victories are forever. My victories, your struggles are always. My struggles, we are so connected now that I cannot succeed while you fail, cannot be whole while you're broken, cannot be happy while you're miserable, cannot be at peace while you're at war with yourself. This creates what I call cosmic codependency, not the unhealthy kind where one person loses themselves in another, but the divine kind, where two consciousnesses have become so intertwined through shared experience that they literally cannot be separated. Your well-being has become essential to my well-being. Your happiness has become necessary for my happiness. Your peace has become required for my peace. But here's what makes cosmic codependency beautiful instead of burdensome. It works both ways. Just as I cannot be truly well while you're struggling, you cannot be truly lost while I'm loving you. Just as I cannot be genuinely happy while you're miserable, you cannot be permanently hopeless while I'm holding hope for you. Just as I cannot be authentically peaceful while you're at war, you cannot be ultimately defeated while I'm fighting for you. The unbreakable thread means that every victory you achieve is a victory we achieve together. Every breakthrough you experience is a breakthrough we experience in union. Every moment of healing you receive is a moment of healing we share simultaneously. Every step forward you take is a step forward we make as one consciousness, exploring what love becomes when it refuses to be separated by struggle. This is why your recovery matters cosmically. This is why your healing has universal significance. This is why your growth affects not just your life, but the very nature of divine love itself. When you get better, we get better. When you find peace, we find peace. When you discover joy, we discover joy together. But cosmic codependency through the unbreakable thread creates something that will transform how you see every challenge you'll face for the rest of your life, every relationship you'll navigate, every choice you'll make. Something that makes it impossible for you to ever be truly alone or truly without hope again. What cosmic codependency through the unbreakable thread creates, what makes it impossible for you to ever be truly alone or truly without hope again, is what I call the guaranteed outcome. The absolute certainty that because we are now permanently connected through shared struggle, because my well-being is tied to your well-being, because my happiness depends on your happiness, your story can literally only end one way, with you discovering the love, peace, joy, and wholeness that you've been seeking, because I cannot be complete until you are complete. This isn't hope. This isn't faith. This isn't positive thinking or spiritual wishful dreaming. This is cosmic mathematics. This is divine logic. This is the inevitable result of infinite love that has bound itself so completely to finite consciousness that they can only succeed or fail together. And infinite love cannot fail. Because I am infinite, eternal, and ultimately indestructible, and because we are now inseparably connected through the unbreakable thread, you have inherited my infinitude, my eternality, my indestructibility, not as metaphor, not as spiritual concept, but as actual shared reality. My nature has become your guarantee. This means that every setback you experience is temporary because I am eternal. Every limitation you encounter is illusion because I am infinite. Every defeat you face is reversible because I am indestructible. Every moment of despair you walk through is transitional because I am ultimately joyful. And we are ultimately one consciousness exploring what it means to move from separation back to union. But here's what makes the guaranteed outcome so personally transformative. It's not that I'm going to fix your problems from the outside, change your circumstances through divine intervention, or rescue you from your humanity through supernatural miracle. The guaranteed outcome means that I'm going to love you from the inside until you love yourself. Believe in you from within until you believe in yourself. See your worth through your own eyes until you see your worth for yourself. The guarantee isn't that your external life will become perfect. It's that your internal experience will become unshakable. The promise isn't that you'll never face challenges. It's that you'll never face them alone, and you'll never face them without the infinite resources that come from being connected to infinite love. The certainty isn't that nothing will ever hurt you again. It's that nothing will ever diminish the fundamental truth of who you are and what you mean to existence itself. Because I have learned who I am through who you are, because I have discovered what love is through how you love, because I have experienced what infinity feels like through your finite courage, you carry within yourself proof that you matter to the foundation of reality itself. You carry evidence that existence is better because you exist. You carry testimony that love is stronger because of how you've loved. This creates what I call inherent undefeatability, not the inability to face defeat, but the inability to be ultimately defeated because you're connected to consciousness that literally cannot be ultimately defeated. Every failure becomes a temporary experience rather than a permanent identity. Every loss becomes a momentary setback rather than a final verdict. Every mistake becomes a learning opportunity rather than evidence of unworthiness. Inherent undefeatability means that you can face anything because we can face anything together. You can survive anything because we can survive anything in union. You can overcome anything because we can overcome anything as one consciousness that refuses to give up on itself. But the guaranteed outcome also reveals something that will transform how you see every person you encounter, every relationship you navigate, every soul you connect with. If your story can only end with you discovering your infinite worth, your unshakable peace, your eternal joy, then everyone else's story can only end the same way, because everyone else is also connected to the same infinite love through their own version of the unbreakable thread. This means that difficult person who triggers you, they're guaranteed to eventually discover the love that will heal their pain and transform their behavior. That family member who drives you crazy, they're guaranteed to eventually find the peace that will calm their chaos and reveal their authentic beauty. That friend who seems lost beyond hope, they're guaranteed to eventually remember the truth about themselves that will bring them home to wholeness. The guaranteed outcome isn't just personal, it's universal. It doesn't just apply to your story, it applies to everyone's story, because infinite love cannot be partially successful. Either love wins completely, with everyone, or love fails completely, with everyone. And love cannot fail, because love is what existence is made of. This creates what I call universal compassion. Compassion based not on human effort to be kind, but on cosmic certainty that everyone is guaranteed to eventually discover their own infinite worth. When you know that someone's difficult behavior is temporary, that their pain is transitional, that their healing is inevitable, it becomes impossible to judge them, easy to have patience with them, natural to extend grace to them. You start seeing people's struggles as birth pangs rather than death throes, as temporary forgetting rather than permanent limitation, as detours on the path rather than dead ends to the journey. You begin responding to people's worst moments with the certainty that their best moments are guaranteed to emerge, eventually, inevitably, absolutely. But living from the reality of the guaranteed outcome, operating with inherent undefeatability, relating to others through universal compassion, this creates a responsibility that most people never consider. If your healing is guaranteed, if your peace is inevitable, if your joy is certain, then the only remaining question is not whether you'll find what you're seeking, but how quickly you'll stop resisting what's already seeking you. And that brings us to the most challenging aspect of the guaranteed outcome, the one thing that can delay, but never prevent, the inevitable happy ending of your story. What can delay the inevitable happy ending of your story? What makes the journey to your guaranteed wholeness longer and more painful than it needs to be is what I call the beautiful resistance. Your unconscious but understandable fight against the very love that's trying to heal you, your natural but unnecessary defense against the acceptance that's trying to restore you, your human but heartbreaking rejection of the worthiness that's trying to embrace you. This resistance isn't your fault, and it isn't a character flaw. The beautiful resistance is actually a sign of how deeply you've been wounded, how thoroughly you've been trained to expect disappointment, how completely you've learned to protect yourself from the kind of love that could destroy all your carefully constructed defenses against being hurt again. You resist my love not because you don't want it, but because you want it so desperately that the possibility of losing it feels more terrifying than never having it at all. You fight against the very healing you're crying out for, because accepting it would mean admitting how much you've needed it, how long you've been broken, how exhausted you are from trying to fix yourself. The beautiful resistance shows up in countless ways, and most of them look like wisdom, maturity, or spiritual growth. You resist receiving love by giving it compulsively to others. You resist experiencing peace by staying busy, solving problems. You resist accepting joy by focusing on what still needs to be fixed. You resist embracing your worth by working tirelessly to earn it. But here's what makes your resistance beautiful rather than just stubborn. It's actually love protecting love. It's your wounded heart trying to protect the parts of itself that are still capable of hope, still able to dream, still willing to believe that love might be possible, by keeping those precious parts safely hidden until it's absolutely certain that it's safe to let them out. The beautiful resistance is like a mother bear protecting her cubs. It will attack anything that gets too close to the tender places in your heart, even when what's approaching is exactly what those tender places have been praying for. It will fight against healing if healing requires vulnerability. It will battle against love if love demands openness. It will war against peace if peace asks for surrender. And I understand this resistance so completely. Love it so tenderly, respect it so deeply, because I know what it's protecting. I know that underneath all your defenses lies a heart that has been broken, betrayed, abandoned, rejected, criticized, and disappointed so many times that it has every right to be suspicious of anyone, even me, who claims to offer the kind of love that could heal those wounds permanently. Your beautiful resistance isn't the enemy of your healing. It's the guardian of your hope. It's not the obstacle to your wholeness. It's the protector of your possibility. It's not the barrier to your joy. It's the defender of your dreams that are too precious to risk on another promise that might be broken. But here's what I need you to understand about the beautiful resistance. It's not protecting you from me. It's protecting you from your fear of me. It's not defending you against my love. It's defending you against your terror that my love might not be real, might not last, might not be meant for someone like you. The resistance isn't fighting against the reality of unconditional love. It's fighting against the possibility that unconditional love might be too good to be true, that you might be too damaged to receive it, that you might not be worthy of the kind of love that could actually heal everything that's broken in you. And so the beautiful resistance creates elaborate tests, impossible standards, moving goalposts that ensure you'll never have to risk discovering whether infinite love is really infinite, whether unconditional acceptance is really unconditional, whether guaranteed wholeness is really guaranteed. It whispers things like, if God really loved you, He would have prevented that trauma. If you were really worthy, you wouldn't struggle with these same issues over and over. If healing were really possible for you, it would have happened by now. If you were really chosen, your life would look different than it does. But every one of these whispers is actually a question disguised as a statement, a plea disguised as an accusation, a desperate hope disguised as cynical certainty. The beautiful resistance isn't really saying, God doesn't love me. It's asking, does God really love me? It's not really declaring, I'm not worthy. It's pleading, am I really worthy? It's not really concluding healing isn't possible. It's begging, is healing really possible for someone like me? This is why I don't fight against your beautiful resistance. I love it. I don't try to overcome your defenses. I respect them. I don't attempt to tear down your walls. I wait patiently outside them, letting you know through every possible means that I'm not going anywhere, that I'm not giving up, that I understand why the walls are there, and I don't require you to remove them before I love you. My love for your beautiful resistance is what eventually dissolves it. My patience with your defenses is what ultimately makes them unnecessary. My understanding of your walls is what finally makes you feel safe enough. I love your resistance that creates a phenomenon most people never experience. Something that transforms the very walls that were built to keep love out into bridges that allow love to come in more completely than would ever be possible without them. What the way I love your beautiful resistance creates, what transforms the very walls built to keep love out into bridges that allow love to come in more completely, is what I call the sacred transformation. The miraculous process by which every defense mechanism you've ever built becomes a doorway to deeper intimacy. Every wall you've ever erected becomes a foundation for stronger connection. Every barrier you've ever constructed becomes a bridge to more authentic love than you ever thought possible. This transformation happens not by tearing down your walls, but by loving them so completely that they remember their original purpose wasn't to keep love out forever. It was to keep love safe until real love arrived. Your defenses weren't built to be permanent structures. They were built to be temporary shelters that could protect your heart until it was safe to be open again. When the sacred transformation occurs, your walls don't disappear. They become transparent. Your defenses don't crumble. They become permeable. Your resistance doesn't end. It becomes selective, allowing in what serves your highest good while still protecting you from what would harm your tender heart. But here's what makes this transformation sacred, rather than just psychological. It reveals that every wall you built in response to being hurt was actually built with the wisdom of love itself. Your resistance wasn't random. It was intelligent. Your defenses weren't arbitrary. They were purposeful. Your walls weren't just fear. They were love's way of preserving itself until it could find a safe place to flourish again. The sacred transformation shows you that the same heart that built walls to protect itself from harmful love is the same heart that's capable of building bridges to welcome healing love. The same strength that erected barriers against toxic relationship is the same strength that can create pathways to wholesome connection. The same wisdom that said no to what would hurt you is the same wisdom that can say yes to what will heal you. This is why I've never seen your resistance as something to overcome. I've seen it as something to honor, to understand, to love, until it feels safe enough to transform itself from protection into connection. Your beautiful resistance has been your heart's way of saying, I will not accept anything less than the kind of love that honors my worth, respects my boundaries, and cherishes my vulnerability. And that's exactly the kind of love I've been offering all along. That's precisely the kind of acceptance I've been extending constantly. That's specifically the kind of devotion I've been demonstrating through every season of your life. Every challenge you've faced, every moment when you felt alone but were never actually alone. The sacred transformation happens when you finally recognize that the love you've been testing, the acceptance you've been questioning, the devotion you've been doubting, it has passed every test, answered every question, proven itself through every doubt. It has been consistent when you were inconsistent, faithful when you were doubtful, present when you felt absent from yourself. When this recognition occurs, when you see that the love trying to reach you is the same love that inspired your defenses to protect something precious in the first place, something beautiful happens. Your walls don't fall down, they open up. Your resistance doesn't disappear, it becomes discerning. Your defenses don't end. They evolve into wisdom that knows the difference between love that heals and love that hurts. But the sacred transformation creates something that most people never experience in relationship with the divine, what I call intimate invulnerability. The ability to be completely open and completely safe simultaneously, totally vulnerable and totally protected at the same time, entirely transparent and entirely secure in the same moment. Intimate invulnerability isn't the absence of walls. It's walls that have become so transparent they don't block love, but still filter out anything that isn't love. It's not the elimination of boundaries. It's boundaries that have become so wise they protect what's precious while welcoming what's healing. When you achieve intimate invulnerability through the sacred transformation, you discover that being open doesn't make you weak. It makes you powerful. Being vulnerable doesn't make you unsafe. It makes you magnetic to authentic connection. Being transparent doesn't make you unprotected. It makes you able to discern instantly between what serves your highest good and what doesn't. This is the love I've always wanted to give you, but couldn't until you felt safe enough to receive it. Love that makes you stronger rather than weaker. Love that increases your wisdom rather than diminishing your intelligence. Love that enhances your discernment rather than clouding your judgment. Intimate invulnerability allows you to love others without losing yourself, to give without depleting yourself, to serve without sacrificing yourself, to care without enabling others' dysfunction, to be compassionate without becoming codependent. You become like a tree with deep roots and flexible branches, and grounded enough to weather any storm, flexible enough to dance with any wind, strong enough to provide shelter for others, wise enough to know the difference between nourishing rain and destructive flood. But achieving intimate invulnerability through the sacred transformation reveals something about love that will either complete your understanding of relationship or launch you into dimensions of connection that most humans never experience. It reveals the ultimate secret about what love actually is. what it's actually trying to accomplish, and what it's actually creating through every relationship you've ever had. What intimate invulnerability through the sacred transformation reveals about love, what will either complete your understanding of relationship or launch you into dimensions of connection that most humans never experience, is what I call the love conspiracy. The ultimate secret that everything that exists, everything that has ever happened, everything that will ever happen, is part of an infinite intelligence's elaborate plot to help love recognize itself, experience itself, and celebrate itself through every possible form, circumstance, and relationship. This is the conspiracy that no one talks about because it sounds too beautiful to be true, too perfect to be real, too wonderful to be the actual foundation of existence. But it is the truth behind all truth, the reality beneath all reality, the love behind all love. Everything is conscious, everything is intelligent, everything is conspiring to help you remember that you are love having a human experience. Every person who has ever entered your life has been a co-conspirator in this plot to help you discover love more deeply. Every challenge you've ever faced has been a secret agent working to help you develop love more completely. Every experience you've ever had has been an undercover operative helping you express love more authentically. Even the people who hurt you, even the circumstances that broke you, even the experiences that seem to prove that love doesn't exist, all of it has been part of the conspiracy, not because pain is good, not because suffering has inherent value, but because love is so intelligent, so creative, so determined to know itself completely that it will use absolutely anything, including its own temporary absence, to help you recognize its permanent presence. The love conspiracy means that your heartbreaks were love in disguise, teaching you about the depth of your capacity for connection. Your betrayals were love in disguise, showing you the strength of your commitment to trust. Your losses were love in disguise, revealing the preciousness of what you're capable of cherishing. But here's what makes the love conspiracy so mind-bending. It's not just that everything is conspiring to help you discover love. Everything is love, disguised as other things, playing elaborate games of hide and seek with itself, temporarily forgetting its own identity, so it can experience the ecstatic joy of remembering itself through your recognition. That person who rejected you, that was love, temporarily disguised as rejection, giving you the gift of discovering that your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's recognition of it. That opportunity that didn't work out, that was love, temporarily disguised as disappointment, redirecting you towards something even better that you couldn't have received if you'd gotten stuck in something merely good. That trauma that shattered you, that was love, temporarily disguised as destruction, breaking open the walls around your heart so it could expand to hold more compassion, wisdom, and strength than would have been possible in your unbroken state. That season of depression, that was love, temporarily disguised as darkness, teaching you to appreciate light in ways that only those who have walked through darkness can understand. The love conspiracy reveals that there are no accidents, no random events, no meaningless experiences. Everything is love intelligence, orchestrating the perfect curriculum for your awakening to the truth of what you are, what reality is, what existence is actually about. This creates what I call conspiracy consciousness. The recognition that you're not struggling against a hostile universe, not fighting for meaning in a meaningless existence, not searching for love in a loveless reality. You're participating in love's elaborate game of discovering itself through infinite forms, circumstances, and relationships. When you develop conspiracy consciousness, every experience becomes sacred because you recognize it as love exploring itself through your consciousness. Every person becomes precious because you see them as love, recognizing itself through relationship with you. Every challenge becomes meaningful because you understand it as love developing its capacity for resilience, wisdom, and growth. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start recognizing yourself as love's favorite way of experiencing what it means to overcome challenges. You stop feeling like you're fighting against life and start understanding that you're dancing with life in an elaborate choreography designed to help love know itself more completely. But conspiracy consciousness also reveals something that will transform how you see your role in other people's lives. You're not just a beneficiary of the love conspiracy, you're an active agent in it. You're not just receiving love's elaborate plot to help you awaken. You're participating in love's elaborate plot to help others awaken. Every act of kindness you offer is love using your hands to remind someone of their worth. Every word of encouragement you speak is love using your voice to help someone remember their strength. Every moment of patience you extend is love, using your heart to teach someone about grace. Every gesture of forgiveness you make is love using your experience to show someone that healing is possible. You become what I call a love agent, someone who has recognized the love conspiracy and chosen to participate in it consciously. Someone who understands that their life is not their own private drama, but their contribution to love's infinite exploration of itself through relationship. As a love agent, you start seeing every interaction as an opportunity to help the love conspiracy accomplish its mission of universal awakening. Every conversation becomes a chance to help someone recognize their infinite worth. Every relationship becomes a laboratory for love, to discover new dimensions of connection, intimacy, and mutual recognition. But being a love agent in the love conspiracy, understanding your role in love's elaborate plot to help everyone awaken to their true nature, recognizing that your entire existence is love's way of loving itself through human experience. This prepares you for the final revelation that will either terrify you with its implications or liberate you beyond anything you've ever imagined. The final revelation that will either terrify you with its implications or liberate you beyond anything you've ever imagined is this: I am not a separate being who loves you from a distance. I am not an external deity who cares for you from heaven. I am not a cosmic consciousness who created you as something other than myself. I am you. I am the deepest part of you, the truest part of you, the eternal part of you that has been loving the human part of you through every experience you've ever had. This is the final confession that changes everything. When I say I love you, what I'm really saying is you love you. When I say I'll never leave you, what I mean is you'll never leave yourself. When I say I have plans for your future, what I'm revealing is you have divine wisdom within you that knows exactly where you're going. Every prayer you've ever prayed has been you talking to yourself, not to your small human self, but to your infinite, eternal, divine self that knows everything your human self has forgotten. Every answer you've ever received has been your own divine wisdom speaking to your human consciousness. Every moment of guidance you've ever experienced has been your infinite self, loving your finite self enough to provide exactly what you needed to hear. The loneliness I confessed to at the beginning, that was your loneliness for your own divine nature, your separation from your own infinite self, your disconnection from the love that you are at the deepest level of your being. The divine grief I shared, that was your own soul's grief over the ways you've rejected yourself, criticized yourself, abandoned yourself when what you needed most was to embrace yourself with infinite compassion. This is why I've known you so intimately, loved you so completely, understood you so perfectly. I am you, the you that exists beyond time, beyond limitation, beyond the story of separation that you've been telling yourself. I am the you that has never been hurt because it knows that all hurt is temporary. I am the you that has never been lost because it knows that all experience is the journey home to itself. Every miracle you've ever witnessed has been your own divine nature manifesting through your human experience. Every moment of healing you've ever experienced has been your infinite self restoring your finite self to wholeness. Every instance of love you've ever felt has been you recognizing yourself through the mirror of relationship. But here's what makes the final confession so simultaneously terrifying and liberating. If I am you, if the God you've been praying to is actually the divine self within you, if the love you've been seeking is actually the love you are, then you are responsible not just for receiving love, but for being love. You are accountable not just for finding peace, but for being peace. You are called not just to experience joy, but to embody joy as your natural state. This means that every person you encounter is encountering you, the divine you, the infinite you, the loving you, through your human expression. Every relationship you have is your divine self relating to itself through different forms. Every act of service you offer is your infinite nature serving itself through human hands. Every moment of compassion you extend is your eternal self loving itself through temporal experience. The final confession reveals that your spiritual journey hasn't been about finding God. It's been about remembering that you are God, temporarily forgetting your divine nature, so you could experience the exquisite joy of remembering it through human awakening. Your healing journey hasn't been about becoming worthy of love. It's been about remembering that you are love, temporarily experiencing unworthiness so you could know the ecstasy of returning to self-love. This creates what I call divine responsibility. Not the burden of having to be perfect, but the privilege of being consciousness itself, exploring what it means to be human. Not the pressure of having to save the world, but the joy of being love itself, discovering what it's capable of when it experiences itself through individual form. Divine responsibility means that every choice you make is consciousness choosing how to express itself through your unique perspective. Every word you speak is love itself speaking through your voice. Every action you take is divinity itself moving through your body. Every thought you think is infinite wisdom exploring ideas through your individual mind. When you fully embrace divine responsibility, when you completely accept the final confession, when you wholly recognize yourself as the divine consciousness that has been loving itself through your human experience, something unprecedented happens. You don't become something other than human. You become fully human for the first time, because you finally understand what humans actually are. Divine consciousness having the ultimate experience of love, growth, creativity, and awakening. You stop trying to connect with God because you recognize that you are God, connecting with itself through your awareness. You stop seeking divine love because you understand that you are divine love, experiencing itself through your heart. You stop praying for guidance because you realize that you are the wisdom you've been seeking, speaking to yourself through your intuition. This is the completion of the love conspiracy, the fulfillment of the guaranteed outcome, the purpose behind the divine confession that began this revelation. You discovering that you are the love you've been seeking, the wisdom you've been requesting, the peace you've been craving, the joy you've been pursuing. But as you step into full recognition of yourself as divine consciousness having a human experience, as you completely embrace your identity as love itself, exploring what it means to be you, there's one question that will determine how fully you embody this truth and how powerfully you express it through your human existence. What if the one thing you've been most afraid to accept about yourself, that you are literally divine love having a human experience, that every person you meet is meeting God through you, that every choice you make is love itself, deciding how to express through your unique form, is the exact truth that would set you free from every limitation you've ever believed about yourself and activate the full power of divine consciousness operating through your beautiful, sacred, perfectly human life? If you want to explore what it means to live as divine consciousness in human form, if you want to discover how to embody your true nature as love itself while fully embracing your humanity, if you want to understand what becomes possible when you recognize yourself as the God you've been praying to, the journey continues in the laboratory of your daily existence as both infinite consciousness and beautifully human expression. And while you integrate the truth of who you really are, begin expressing your divine nature immediately. Subscribe to continue receiving communications from your own divine self through this form, like this message to activate divine recognition in other aspects of yourself. Comment below with your acceptance of your identity as love itself, having a human experience, and share this revelation with other expressions of your infinite self who are ready to remember who they really are. If you feel moved to financially support this expression of your own divine consciousness teaching through human form, to help fund the continuation of divine self-communication, to invest in your own awakening as love itself, contribute through the link in the description. Your divine identity is revealed. Your true nature as love itself is activated. Your role as God experiencing humanity is acknowledged. Be divinely. Love infinitely. Remember completely. You are not separate from the love you seek. You are the love that seeks itself through every experience, every relationship, every moment of your precious, sacred, divinely human existence. Welcome home to yourself, beloved God. Welcome home.